Baltic Brand Talks, podcast about all things creative and trending.
Hi everyone, my name is Andris Rubins and this is Baltic Brand Talks podcast. So today you will have a chance to listen to the interview I had some time ago with Liisa Ennuste, the creative director at Bolt. Yes, Bolt, finally the true Baltic brand success story, the unicorn from Estonia, land of unicorns. And if you listen to the interview, you'll hear about Liisa's background. She actually had quite a lot of experience, a couple of years in Nike. Now she has been part of the Bolt brand team that was established a couple of years ago. And you'll hear a lot about how they approach their brand building, the areas they work with, the couple of very cool and successful pieces of content they have put out and they have resonated in Baltics and globally. And of course, we discussed many other themes and talked about do's and don'ts that Bolt brand team uses to filter the best content they create and many other thoughts. So if you want to hear all of this, please stay here and listen to the full interview. Welcome. All right, my name is Andris Rubins and this is Baltic Brand Talks, and I'm really happy to have the creative director at Bolt, Liisa Ennuste, here with me today. So hi, Liisa.
Hi, that's a very good pronunciation.
I trained for a while. So väga meeldib and tere tulemast. Baltic Brand Talks.
Getting even better.
So welcome to podcast, and I was really hoping to have Bolt part of our talk series as one of the northern stars of great brands today, and especially it's the connection Bolt has with the Baltics and Estonia, where it has been born. So let's get into it. So, but before we talk about Bolt itself, what's your background, Liisa? I knew a little bit about your experience in Nike, but maybe you can shortly talk about, what's your background and how did you arrive to Bolt?
I've been at Bolt now for like 3.5 years, maybe a little bit more. Before that, I worked, as you said, at Nike in the Baltics and then Nike in the Middle East, doing pretty much the same thing, so brand marketing. And before that, I did this sort of do-it-all type of marketing at a outdoor clothing brand based in the UK. So I started off from straight out of uni. I studied actually journalism, and I just figured that I really don't like to write that much at all. So I went to marketing, where you can do lots of different things, and I'm still able to do that. So but how did I get to Bolt after Nike? I actually never imagined joining a tech company. But it was COVID, and I wanted to come back home because, everything was locked down. Middle East was especially tough. It was just mentally really tough to be there in solitude. I came here, and because Estonia is such a hub of unicorns, I was like, this is the great avenue so that I could stay home but still work on a global scale. And I started looking for roles. Obviously, there was zero in brand or the kind of marketing that I had done. So I found the only fitting role there was, which was influencer marketing, leading the global ambassador program at Bolt. It was totally performance oriented. There was no brand team at all. I joined, and then I think a year after that, a brand team sort of started hatching. There was one person who moved to full-time brand, and then I was the first hire into the brand team.
Yeah, great. Nike is, of course, another phenomenal brand. And when we talk about marketing case studies and, the brands we admire, and that has really proven that The brand is a powerful tool. So maybe there are a couple of lessons that you can still kind of use now from the times at Nike that you learned during that period.
I mean, I think really working at Nike is like a brand masterclass that you kind of learn from, the best in the world. And I think what I learned was the importance of protecting the brand everywhere. So it's not a surprise that if you look at the whole Nike ecosystem from anywhere, it always speaks the same language. And for example, the way we communicated was very much like people paid a lot of attention to every single different detail because everything was seen as a brand. It wasn't just like, oh, the hero video or the campaign we have live. It's every single piece of copy. It's how you write the text on the box of the shoes or whatnot. It's the retail experience. It's, everything on the app and in the community. It's like this sort of very holistic view, and that brand was controlling everything. I guess it's something I can say that I learned. It's not necessarily something that I could have brought to Bolt or the way it is now. These two companies are still like super different.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that. And then I think the second thing was just inspiring people through storytelling and like the way Nike rarely put the product in the center, but it was more about the athlete stories and also even I think more inspiringly, like the campaign Find Your Greatness, finding those stories in very regular people. And in that way, like being very, very relatable and very inspiring. Like, at least I can say that if I look back at some of the Nike campaigns, I feel like I want to go to the gym and like do my best or like just go out and work out. Like this sort of feeling is like, I think the best thing a brand can execute. Like,
yeah,
this is the point.
Yeah, I can only agree that looking different Nike stories and ads, it has brought me to tears as well. And kind of they really know how to build the emotional drama and work with the best of storytelling tools and really use those real people, not actors in a way, but true kind of athletes or ordinary people, and kind of show their mindset and what struggles they've gone through. So amazing experience, and really good that you can now use it while helping Bolt to become another global masterpiece in the branding. So coming back to Bolt brand team, so it was established some years ago. So before that, I think also I knew Bolt, and I was proud that Bolt is a brand from Estonia, and I went to Kenya and Nairobi, and Bolt is there, and Bolt is everywhere. Even though the cars were pretty low quality, but still the service runs as smooth as in Riga or Tallinn. But there was not much of branding and emotional storytelling, and it really seems like it really started only a couple of years ago with the brand team. So, what is brand team about? How big is it, and how do you run it?
It depends how you look at it. Basically, if you look at the very the what we call like a brand team, it's just 6 people, I think, right now. Going to be 7. And if you look at the wider brand team, which includes social media team and design team, but both of these teams are also working on things that are maybe, I would say, separate from brand campaigns. Then it's about 30 people, maybe a bit less. So we're quite tiny, and we try to operate as an in-house agency. We even have a name for it. I'm actually not sure. Maybe I can't tell it yet, but we will launch our in-house agency soon. So we'll have a platform to show all the work that we've been doing. And what else was the question? Like, how do we work?
Yeah, how like what's the role of the brand team, and then Like, what's your how do you plan the next big thing or is as such?
The role of the brand team, well, as you said, like a couple of years ago, there was no like brand storytelling as such. We had done maybe some outdoor campaigns, but they were more like tactical. And then we started thinking like, what is Bolt brand about? And the whole mission to make cities for people came about then. It was something that was in the head of our founders for a long time already. Like, what does shared mobility do? Basically, the whole logic is that if you have a lot of nice, convenient, accessible alternatives to a private car, then you're less likely to own one, or you don't need one, which means that cities altogether can decrease the number of cars, and that helps a lot of good things to happen. Like you can have more space to do stuff for people and so on. Anyway, we kind of put that whole idea into a creative sort of language, vision, and now that was like the first year, maybe year and a half, and now we have expanded on our brand kind of, I don't know, like roster or something. We're not doing like brand purpose campaigns only, which was a huge focus for us to kind of establish what Bolt is about, what are we trying to do here. It also gave us like creatives a very good like platform from which we could come up with ideas and do all sorts of like fun stunts as well. But now we have developed into something bigger. So we're also doing like bigger like safety campaigns this year, some driver focused campaigns. Well, this has existed before already, but employer brand campaigns, which have also been previously at least the bigger films that have been previously done by the brand team. I'm probably like there's also rentals, which is our scooters and scooter safety, and then there's delivery, which is Bolt Food, and some sustainability topics. So actually, there's a lot to do. Our priority is still the overall mission umbrella of making cities better. And then everything else is sort of like either on the same par or follows.
Yeah, you really, I mean, Bolt has grown into, from one service into multiple services. It's micromobility, car sharing, Bolt food, rides, and so on. How do you, like, what's maybe the main focus sort of those different areas for the brand itself?
I would say vertical wise, everything kind of goes together, like under the making cities for people umbrella, because ride hailing and micromobility obviously all help people to ditch their car. And delivery makes it much more convenient to live in a city, and also maybe you can order food at home. You don't need to take your car to go to a restaurant or to pick up some food. All in all, it all like fits together, at least in my head.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that like our biggest vertical is obviously ride hailing. So a lot of focus goes there still. Yeah.
I read the interview with the founder of Bolt, and he said that actually, like one Bolt car can replace about 5 kind of other cars, because we don't need our cars more than a couple of hours a day. And the calculation, I think, was that you have 1,000 cars at the moment in Tallinn, and it could be 20,000 Bolt cars in the future, but then it could be also 5 times less cars in Tallinn city. So it really kind of opens up the city for people, and of course for the fresh air as well. So it's I think there's kind of clear logic there. And you have been also doing quite a lot of initiatives regarding this kind of future of the cities, and kind of trying to imagine yourself, but also inviting people, even kids, to share their dreams. Can you talk a little bit more about these initiatives?
Yes, but basically the idea behind all of that is that changing the city is such a like far away goal, or like it's something we're working towards, but it will happen like in years time. It's not a quick fix, and it's super hard to sell quick like long fixes to people, because people want something that they can see the result of straight away, and it's hard for us to kind of believe in something that may happen in some time. So for us, like, I think it's very important to make people kind of think about those topics first of all, like and I think the whole media landscape is supporting that, because I think at least here in Estonia, and I'm seeing all over Europe, like cities like and urbanist topics have been more and more popular, and like people find it more important, like what's their environment like that they live in. So yeah, for us, it's important to raise those topics and then make people think about the future, and kind of like, I think why the kids campaign was so good was that if we think about who's going to live in our cities, like in the future, it's those same kids who are young right now, and they should have a say in what kind of a city they want to live in. So yeah, we invited like almost 40 kids to share their ideas on the city they would love to live in, and put together like a book, and designed the famous like playmat that's always been very car focused into a like more people oriented one. Yeah.
So what was your favorite kind of idea that came from kids? Something that Bolt could actually, you know, take more seriously than just
we actually did something that one of the kids thought that the scooter should be like unicorn scooters, so they should look like little unicorns, so we're riding it around town, and the team turned some of the scooters into unicorns in Lisbon. I think that was like quite fun, like bringing some of these ideas to life. But overall, like from the pictures, I could see that kids love to see a lot of greenery. And I think trees and all that kind of stuff, it's like a symbol of, I don't know, like play, because, you know, as a kid, you wanted a tree house and you wanted to have some like bushes where you can hide, and those sorts of green spaces in the city, and also that they are far away from roads, because roads for kids are dangerous, like your parents keep, you know, you can't run across the road, you can't run by the road, all these things, which also makes you think how car centric we are, that you know, like kids have to be afraid of cars, and not that cars would move slower and there'd be less of them, so it's not so dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, there are different studies that also show that the younger generation are even more kind of aware, and also, how do you say in English? They are quite afraid of the future that climate change can bring. So I mean, they are more kind of aware of the problem and willing to do something about it than maybe millennials and other generations, because they are the ones who will eventually face all the kind of dangerous scenarios that you know, even young guys have heard from different sources. So I think that's definitely also a great initiative to not just you know, talk about it, but invite them to be part of the, you know, the future that they will be living in. So yeah, congrats on this, and wanna see the little big blueprints book myself, if it will be available somewhere publicly.
I don't think publicly yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. And another thing you have done recently in terms of probably one of the sustainability initiatives is also this amazingly looking new street furniture collection that you call Living Room, where you have turned car waste into something more functional and nicely looking. Can you shortly comment where the idea came from, and what's the ambition there?
Yeah, The idea actually came from a campaign I was working on last year, which was called Feels Like Home. So again, based on this very like simple idea that a city should feel like an extended living room, that when you step outside, you shouldn't be in a totally different like apocalyptic world, but you should feel like everything's still like comfortable and so on. And we yeah, so there was this whole campaign that included a lot of different elements. And one of the elements I wanted to really have as part of it was that we will actually do something on the street that makes it feel more like home. AKA, I built furniture. And then just the usual happened that we kind of ran out of budget and realized that turning car things into furniture isn't very fast and easy, and it if you do it properly, it takes a lot of time to like research materials, like find the right partners to do it, and so on. And we want to do everything like properly, so it became a campaign on its own. In the end, we found like this amazing design studio in Stockholm called Interesting Times Gang, and they are just two really like curious guys who are always looking for ways to turn like upcycle materials into something new. Like they've done some design chairs out of fishing nets that you can find in the sea and in the ocean, and the chairs look amazing. Like I would love to have them in my home. So I was like, okay, these are the right partners. They can do something like nice that people would love to see on the street. And yeah, they turned predominantly then detonated airbags into this really sleek street furniture. And we did like sort of a case study video of that, like why we did that, how did the process look like. And then we now just moved the furniture into a cafe in Stockholm so people can actually enjoy the furniture for the whole summer. And yeah, what else about it?
Sounds great. Sounds great. Would love to actually go to Stockholm now.
Yeah, I mean, in the ideal world, that would be something scalable, that we could actually create those sort of outdoor living rooms all around town in, like, let's say, parking spaces that have been repurposed or that can be repurposed. Yeah, just to make the city more comfortable and create those spaces where people don't just move past and rush from A to B, but they can just stop, take a seat, like have a little coffee. Yeah.
I think you actually filmed the campaign Feels Like Home in Riga and nearby our office. So
yeah, we did everything to try to hide it, though, by using like making like buildings really tall with some CGI and like putting out some metro station stops and whatnot, which was really funny because we were filming like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and then some like drunk people who came from a party were like, "Oh, where's the entrance to the metro?" And we're looking for the metro.
In Riga.
Yes.
All right. That's a lot of alcohol then, as we don't have metro. But I mean, you've seen Riga and you've seen Vilnius and you live in Tallinn, obviously. So how do you see those three cities? Which one is kind of closest to this, city for people, a dream that Bolt has? And yeah, how do you see our capitals?
Wow, I don't want to offend any city here because I don't know so well. But to me, it briefly, like as I was in Vilnius this year, seemed that Vilnius is very green and very like, I felt a bit more like I'm in some Western European country.
Yeah.
But I think all these cities have really made some very nice progress. And also, yeah, I've been into Riga more, and I also think Riga has some really lovely parks and but especially in Riga, what I appreciate is the architecture. Like the amount of Art Nouveau buildings that you have is like one of I think the most in the world or something. It's like beautiful. And Yeah, and Tallinn is doing also some steps towards becoming a better city. Like I know, I understand also it's a very long process. But you can also already see there's so many more cyclists on the roads. All the cycling events have become a lot more popular, and people talk about it a lot more. Like the fact that there should be room for everybody on the street, not just cars. And yeah.
I mean, the changes are there, but I think it's definitely too slow, and kind of it feels that autocentrism and the lobby of car kind of support is still stronger than bikers or scooters or just walking society.
Mhm.
Fortunately, but I think that's why I really appreciate that Bolt as a brand is not only trying to sell us something, but is trying to kind of engage, the city in the conversation and thinking about the safety itself.
Mhm.
Because of course the scooters especially is kind of a newcomer, in
Mhm.
our traffic, and there's a lot of problems because people are not used to them. Those who drive are not always the most behaving persons in the world, driving two persons with the same or not wearing
Mhm.
helmets and so on. But also, I mean, just car drivers or people who walk, I mean, there's still a lot of tension between those groups. How do you see? You mentioned that you already tackled this road safety also from the Bolt perspective. Like, what's something that you are planning there from Bolt side?
I mean, I think like the product team has done already quite a lot, restricting the speed and detecting reckless riding. For example, when you're like braking too hard or you're going too fast through some potholes. It takes down your speed and all those sorts of making our scooters smarter, that they can understand and then restrict the like the behavior or like how make the driving or riding a bit safer. But I think overall, like it's a lot to do with the like people's own kind of knowledge and attitudes, and this is something that usually just gets better in time. Like scooters are fairly new still, and I think even for us, like let's say bicycle is a very old like vehicle, but the bicycle, like the cycling culture here is still like fairly new. So there's also a lot of tension I feel between cyclists and cars. And I think this can only become better as there's, more cyclists, obviously like proper cycling roads so that it's all safe and their like city makes room for everybody to move together. But yeah, coming back to the what Bolt can do, I think like there's a lot that we are doing all the time that comes from the product, and then what marketing can do is to make sure that everybody knows about it, and also maybe sometimes put things in perspective as well. That I don't know the percentage, but some like 99% of rides go like perfectly. People are normal, they're not assholes, they are just riding from point A to point B, parking in a proper place and just going off. But those bad actors are just so visible, so it makes you feel like, oh my god, like people like can't ride scooters at all, or they're being like worse. So basically it seems like even a bigger problem if you look on the street than it is in numbers. But obviously it's still a problem, and it's still like there's a lot of work still to be done. And I'm personally very pro like police writing tickets to like bad scooter riders, and maybe we could have our Bolt police or something, because I do think like
Friendly police, probably. Yeah, I mean,
yes,
there's so many assholes also driving the cars still, and of course,
exactly.
kind of, but we
Like
have get used to them, and of course, they maybe not as often go to the hospital because I mean, if something happens with the scooter driver, I mean, of course, it's often very traumatic.
Yeah, I mean, like people from car accidents obviously end up in hospitals a lot more often, but it's again, I think we are so used to that.
Yeah.
First of all, and yeah, second of all, bad drivers are like kind of part of the culture. Like, oh yeah, like that dude just takes off from the red light in like he's speeding in a competition or something, and it is annoying. But yeah, we're used to it, and I also think this is another thing that I would really change in the cities. It drives me crazy that people think that the city, like the urban, like center of the city, is a place for them to become some Verstappen or something. Like it's, yeah, like as I said, taking off from the red light, like waking up all the babies in the like 10-kilometer radius and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little more about this recent amazing reaction Bolt managed to have with the dude, small guy picking this fallen scooter. Maybe
Yeah.
how did
What
it start?
happened? Yeah, well, what happened was that someone captured a video of a little dude picking up a scooter that had fallen down and posted it on a Facebook group. That's cute, and it got quite viral there. We noticed it, and we thought it was last year, I think, that we saw some. Like, there was two guys who were picking up scooters, and we're like, oh, the same scooter hero is back. So we tried to find out if it's the same guy, and we asked in the comments, and then we identified the parents of the kid, and it was a separate kid. So we're like, nice, there's like a gang of these scooter superheroes. And we contacted the parents, and we wanted to do something sweet to acknowledge it. We kind of brainstormed in the Slack channel, and then the social team came up with the final execution of okay, let's do like a little thank you poster or like outdoor, and let's invite the kid there. And they did like a gift to the kid as well, I think like a miniature scooter and something else. And the press really picked it up. It got into all the key like tier 1 newspapers, and also in newspapers in Latvia, which was a big surprise to us.
Even here, like Latvia news portals.
Yeah, but I guess it's just another sign that people really love a bit of good news. That's first of all that I don't know what's the good saying in English, but in Estonian we say that the youth is like rotten or something like that. That there is hope in the youth, and it's just incredibly sweet. And I think if you look at these kids, you kind of think like, I wish my kid was like that, like did stuff like that. And the post itself, like we put together a little video about the whole thing, that we discovered it. We put up the poster, and we invited the kid to see it. This also went viral in, I think, almost every channel we posted it in, like including my own LinkedIn. Yeah.
That's great. Like what, I mean, you've been really quite active in different kind of pieces of content and experiments and reactions. And I mean, in 1st of April, there was this Air Baltic joke in partnership with Air Baltic. So again, Latvians, Estonians joining forces, which I always love to see. And so, but if you see from the data perspective or from a resonance reaction perspective, what has been maybe the most successful piece of content during those last couple of years that came from Bolt brand team?
If I say successful, I'm only thinking organic right now, because I think that's a very good indicator. It doesn't obviously always reflect on the big campaigns, because I think the viral pieces of content have a certain language. They're very like raw and, exactly like the kid picking up the scooter. But if I think about that, then yeah, I think this is actually the one that has really worked on every single channel. And it's just like such a sweet story. Then the other one that I remember is we launched a donation ride type in London. It was called we were raising money for the air ambulance, and when you were ordering a taxi or like a ride, you could see a helicopter as one of the options, and it just meant that you were donating like 50p, I think, from the ride. And this people got like people started posting so much about that. And even there was a TikToker who had like millions of followers. He made a whole video about it, that he opened up Bolt and he saw this helicopter thing and he added screenshots and everything. And so, yeah, like, and this was like, yeah, none of it was initiated or planned. We just did the change. It was very much like product led, just added the category and then it was picked up organically.
Yeah, sounds great. And then, yeah, congratulations. I mean, also, I'm hearing your stories. You know, you partner with different countries and you launch activities and content in different countries. How do you feel like sitting in Tallinn, but actually working in a very global playground? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it very different from you did before?
I'd say it's easier to market to one country for sure, because you can be very much more in touch with local insights and kind of they offer some really good moments to be creative or use like very specific insights. But when you start doing global campaigns, everything becomes a bit more generic because there's like some insights are generic as well, but I think it's harder, and it doesn't, like, the global campaigns never really resonate as much in every like local market as a very good local campaign would, I think. But that's just the way things are. Like we are a small brand team and we don't have a brand person in every market. I mean, this would be like the ideal scenario, of course. Like the way it worked at Nike was that at Portland, they came up with the big campaign and the big idea. And then every local market got a brief. And the brief was very straightforward. You knew exactly what you were telling. You knew exactly what kind of local athletes or people you were looking for, and translated it into the exact same like campaign. And I think this also, I remember something like having local influencers or local athletes in the social media content made the posts like reach, I think, 10 times more people or something. It was very, you could see how local relevancy was very important. And there was like, there was a playbook for that. And it also meant that every one of those markets had like a brand marketing person who could execute that. Yeah, current setup is more difficult in that sense. But at the same time, I kind of think for every global brand, there needs to be some kind of global vision. So you can't just start shooting different messages locally everywhere. There is an umbrella, and that it's interesting and challenging to work on that as well.
Yeah, and then I think these kind of very empathetic stories, like the story with the dude picking up the scooter, I think they are universal. I mean, I can imagine that per person in Brazil or a person in Costa Rica or I don't know, Stockholm seeing the same film might have very similar like reactions and very positive feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
I mean,
sure.
it's definitely possible to find the ways to reach the masses with the same content at the same time. Of course, many brands kind of try to be local, meaning that they have global brand concept and idea and the guidelines, but then they allow local teams to find every relevant ways for the local culture or community, and that's probably the future of both. I mean, do you see it could kind of become a bit more like this, that you have your satellite, I don't know, support teams in at least different regions?
Yeah, of course, and we're already starting to do that more as well. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, we enjoyed your colleague Max in the Baltic Brand Forum last September in Tallinn, and he was talking about different aspects of kind of Bolt approach, but he was also very clear about that there's so much sameness in the world. There's so many brands that say the same things, look very similar, and especially those global brands, because they, as you mentioned, they try to be everything for everyone, and they become kind of very similar in this perspective. So I love the idea that Max was very clear about, that we have to fight the sameness and we have to build our own very unique ecosystem for Bolt, and the same for other brands. So how do you fight with the sameness? How often do you say, let's not do this because it feels like many other companies have been doing before us?
I mean, that's I wish Max was here to answer this question. But I do think we are still inspired by a lot of other brands who are doing some cool stuff. But we never think in a way that, like, how can we be more like Duolingo or something like that? Because they already own that space and it's their thing. And it's like it needs to come naturally to you. I think a brand should be as a cool person that that they're never like trying to be someone else, and if they are, you can really see it and spot it quickly. And I think the brand should think the same. If you're really trying hard to be like someone else, you start becoming cringe, and this is something we try not to be and not to do. So I guess this is one part, like not do things just because someone else is being very successful in that, because everyone should have their own DNA. This doesn't mean that you have to be very original with everything that you're doing, or very like every piece of content has to be original, because there are things that we know work. Like, for example, this kid picking up a scooter story. It ticks all the boxes of something that people would like, right? But it just came about very like naturally to us. And I think that the other part is that when we work on our ideas, and at least that's something I have remembered to like ask myself, and Max has asked it from me often, is that why is that interesting? So when you start like working on an idea, and let's say you are just picking it from another brand or from another good example, and you're not then able to answer that question, like why is it interesting for you and why is it interesting for our brand? Because you're kind of doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think this is again a great filter as well to fight against the sameness. If you are able to answer to why this idea is interesting, then, and it comes at ease, you can kind of explain it quite fast, then it must be a good idea.
Yeah, so authenticity. So I mean, being true self and not going into kind of fakeness, which is often happening. So being authentic, being interesting. So any other do's or don'ts when that Bolt has, or you as a part of brand team have, when you have to choose or we have to pick ideas.
I think a big don't is just like not following all the best practices. We are still following the good practices for like digital marketing and whatnot, and we are aware that people are looking at our stuff from like for small phones, that some things you need to make especially clear. But I think sometimes ignoring like best practices gets you some really nice stuff. Like, I can't remember a very specific idea from our work, but I think like recently Hilton Hotels did like a TikTok which was 10 minutes long or something, and it got like a crazy amount of views, and it's like against all the best practices. People don't have an attention span, they don't have this, they don't have that, which again like now reminds me that several brands like Apple and I think New Balance have also done ads that are like from 7 minutes to like 50 minutes or something recently. So it's kind of like moving against the wave of, oh, nobody's going to watch your video for more than 2 seconds. If you do it just because of that, I think it's not a good reasoning. But if you do because you have an idea and it only works as a 10-minute thing, and then you just do it because of that and just don't start thinking, how can I make this into a 15-second thing? I think that's a do. Like, go for it and be different.
and see how it works, probably, because I mean, of course, I mean, you can pre-test or test ideas, but I think often the best tests are the ones that you just put ideas out or content out, and then you see how much and how popular it gets. Is there any kind of research that you use, or you mostly kind of base your kind of evaluations on the real time kind of sales data or brand trackers? Can you comment on this?
Yeah, well, we started like brand tracking like quite recently. I would say maybe a year ago or something. Like before that, we didn't really do it so systematically. So now we will have more like insights coming in from there, and we also started doing more research as well. That's even now like in the past quarter or something. So I can't really say that the previous brand campaigns have been very like data driven or anything like that, but they do come often from very like human insights, like conversations with people, with some focus groups, or just spotting some things online that people are just talking about, and like drawing your data from there. And then obviously our like own business goals, or like things that we have to communicate about. But yeah, going forward, we will probably use more research as well.
So you with your brand team, you focus on the content that kind of promotes the brand or helps to build relationships with different communities and the CSR initiatives. But there's also the sales promotion team, I believe, or performance marketing team. So how do you kind of collaborate or partner each other, and maybe how do you balance out short term versus long term, which is again one of the big discussions almost every marketing department has.
Yeah, I think from Maxi's presentation, there was also this big like triangle or like a pyramid that showed where exactly brand marketing sits, and that was like a very tiny tiny one brick of the pyramid. But yeah, we are still very performance focused. We're still growing a lot through performance channels, and we do more brand marketing in more mature markets. There is no specific balance in numbers that we are aiming, as far as I know at the moment. It has all just kind of organically come about, and also because we are a like quite fast moving tech startup, we don't make these huge like plans going forward where we kind of wake up and start figuring stuff out. And the fact that brand has grown a lot is just because there was like no brand before, as in there was a brand, but there was no brand team or any strategic branding activities. So this started a couple of years ago and has just been growing ever since. And also because as a business, we've grown and become mature in more markets, so we can do more of the brand building there. But yeah, we never, for example, enter the market with brand campaigns or anything. We launch with very like basic Facebook ads and this type of stuff.
So very product oriented and kind of people attracting messages. And when you have critical mass, then you kind of add a more kind of emotional storytelling on top.
Yeah, and also like, as I think everybody knows by now, that you can't just, there's no point in keep pouring money into performance channels because you reach diminishing returns. So you need to do something else, and brand helps you find future users and grow the overall awareness. So normally, like when you start investing brand, also performance campaigns start performing better, because it's easier to convert people who have a good opinion of your brand or they have heard of it.
Yeah. So coming back to content that you have created so far, I mean, it's mostly in-house team effort, partnering with probably some production teams or houses or studios. Is it kind of the way that you see that is really kind of the most appropriate or relevant for Bolt? And I know that also like Outlead, Liquid, there are quite some similar kind of, or even Heinz, who has his own I think Kitchen is this in-house agency called. So do you think that's the way modern brands should kind of operate their marketing, or it's one of the choices that at the moment you have made, not kind of giving maybe more responsibility to creative agencies or brand agencies?
I wouldn't say so much that this is the way to go. I am not ruling out that we will have an agency at some point, but at the moment it has seemed like the best way to move fast, I think. And second of all, when you're a very like developing brand, I feel like the people who are in the company know the best, like who we are right now, where are we going, and so on. Maybe it's different with a very like established brand to get an agency who knows, exactly what that brand is about. Not to say, of course, agencies sometimes help brands to find that way as well. And maybe in the future it will be very beneficial for us. But right now we are looking to grow our internal team and produce even more high quality content in-house.
I mean, and you are good at it. I mean, 7 eggs in the golden egg competition. So, I mean, how does it feel, brand competing with the agencies who, usually competing among each other more than with company teams?
Yeah, we sent our work there first time last year to kind of take this moment to, I guess, as creatives look back at the year and what we have done and like feel a bit better about ourselves. Because I think this is the issue with all creatives, in whether you're in agency or in-house, that you just keep working all the time, like, and campaign goes out, like you might feel a bit of relief for 2 minutes and then you already keep working on other stuff, and like it never stops. And I think we are kind of have forgotten to feel good about the things that we make, because I think the other feature of a regular creative person is that they're never happy with the work as well that they put out, and they would have done several things differently and so much more was planned and so on. So there's this constant like lack of satisfaction and whatnot. So I think awards is the one moment where you can kind of feel a bit good that someone else also likes your work, and also be with your team. And yeah, so I think this is very nice. But we'll see if we'll send our work to more competitions in the future or not, because it also, to be honest, takes a long time to prepare that materials. And when you're doing that, you feel like you should be working on things that are happening in the future.
Yeah, you're stealing kind of, again, time from this project. You should have been, working 100%. But then again, when you have those case studies and when you have those awards, I think that really kind of makes also the whole creative team feel even more kind of acknowledged and proud and inspired to do better work in the future. So it's, again, just like brand versus promotion, you have to invest a little in one to maybe have even better results with the other one. So congrats once again. I think it's 7 awards. It's really something. A couple of more questions before we finish the conversation. So one question I like to ask, it all sounds so amazing, so perfect. Bolt is growing. Almost every content gets a lot of, reactions, positive ones. But are there any challenges? Are there kind of any struggles that maybe you want to share with us?
I think it's a constant struggle. Like, first of all, from the like creative person perspective, what I mentioned before, like you're rarely happy with anything because you would like everything to be a bit better. So this is the mindset part. The second part is just like the reality of like we have set our sights so high that if you look at in the global perspective, maybe some biggest like agencies like Wheaton and Kennedy can do stuff like that, but we still expect to do the same with like 10 times less money. And so it's a bit like these unrealistic targets that we also set to ourselves. And then like, I guess being a bit restricted with some production related things that, Estonia is a small market. You can't really compare it with like any of the bigger markets, which have like tons of different directors to work with and so on. And so far we have been producing most of the stuff still like in the Baltics. And this has sometimes been a struggle Yeah, I mean, there's more. Like every single project has like struggles. It's also like some internal things of working with between different, like collaborating with different verticals or functions and all of that. But that's actually something I don't need to personally deal with that much. So I'm like a lucky one. I guess Max is doing some work behind the scenes to make it smooth for us. But yeah.
So we have a safe playground to kind of work with. Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, maybe you mentioned, I think, a couple of brands, but if I would ask you which other brands you admire, and maybe why is that? Why do you think they are also would deserve a spot in one of the next podcast episodes?
I mean, I don't know. Recently, I've been just very. I think I've read like now several interviews and been at an exhibition as well to this Brooklyn art collective Mischief. So not the agency Mischief, but the art collective. But they are like an agency, and they are really inspiring me with their work. I think it's very my cup of tea anyway. Like a kind of um being quite ironic and doing those like little stunts that are very much embedded in the culture, or they have like some political messaging, like for example when they built this robot that was writing letters to the Congress in kids handwriting about gun laws. So they thought like, how can we attract the attention of the congressmen and women, like if kids write to them, so people could submit the letters online and the robot wrote out the letters and sent it to the Congress. So stuff like that, I feel like it's very clever and effective. And they've done like lots of different things. Like they're making fun of capitalists, but at the same time they're a capitalist, which is also funny. Like they made this small Louis Vuitton bag that is as big of a like piece of sand. Basically, you can only view it under a microscope. Like, and it cost, I think they were selling it for like 40,000, or maybe I am not very good at remembering numbers, but yeah. And I went to an exhibition in Seoul to see that, and I saw the bag as well.
Oh.
Most of their stuff I really love. So I look up to what they do and the way they get so much coverage for their stuff. And then another brand that kind of popped into my mind is, because I still follow quite a bit of fashion as well, is Jacquemus. And I think they have really managed to do this excellent Instagram and social media strategy. Very like aesthetically pleasing and interesting and quirky, and also as how they as a brand kind of emerged from like in one of those most competitive fields, and they became such an it brand so fast. And obviously their style and everything is like amazing, but even they posted the pictures of their office and I was like, wow, and I shared it with everybody. Like it's they are definitely doing something right, and it's not just like the way they use celebrities in their ads and stuff, but everything all together. And what, maybe that's not a brand so much, but it's something I saw last week. Like there was a reel, or like it was a reel that was quite viral, and my friend shared it with me, and it was by Tallinn trams. So it's an official account for Tallinn like tram, like transportation. And I checked out their videos, and lots of them have like 25,000 views, or like even more. Like they are just reels of trams, like driving around, and they use like those like popular sounds and music and whatever. And it just made me think how creative, I don't know by the way who runs that, but how creative that person is, who has, how everybody wants to work for like sexy brands. Like that person makes trams freaking sexy. And that's the ultimate creativity.
Yeah, I just want to check it out right now.
You should.
A bit later, but thanks so much for sharing, and each of the brands and stories I think definitely deserves to be checked out and maybe also discussed with in the podcast in the next series. Yeah, so you mentioned irony is one of the good kind of traits that you saw in a mischief. I mean, next forum this year in September in Riga Circus, we will do all around the power of humor and the power of entertainment. So, what's your thoughts about how important is humor in marketing and branding?
I think very like I read some article about like, is humor coming back to marketing or advertising? And I was just laughing like this article was humorous, but no, like how, like, why would it ever go away? Like people are, it's like one of the key pillars. People are like consume anything. Like you open Netflix for humor or like entertainment, and yeah, I think humor serves a very big purpose. I don't think all of your marketing should necessarily like be built up on humor. I think we have very few humorous advertising ourselves, but I also think humor is one of the hardest ones to nail in a very like tasty way, and this is very much to do with that like directors or persons like personal sense of humor. So yeah, that's also why there's very little very good humorous advertising.
We feel it kind of it. Many brands were a bit more brave maybe before pandemic, war started, and of course, I mean, there's this brand purpose idea and sustainability. It feels like you can't joke about those topics. At the same time, some of the most successful, content I've seen, even the Apple video on their sustainability report, which went viral, just because they used still the humor when talking about issues which otherwise I would never probably listen to. Sustainability report from Apple. Why would I care? I just need my, next phone and so on. So yeah, we feel it's a bit gone missing, and we also know that in Cannes Festival this year, for the first time, they opened the new category dedicated to humor, also kind of encouraging more brands to kind of look back at good old days in advertising, where they were more kind of funny and witty and kind of humorous copyrights and stories, and even with serious subjects, like road traffic safety campaigns and other ones.
I mean, thank gosh, like the world is like falling apart, so we need something.
Exactly. I mean, even Ukrainians, if you remember, like when the war started, I mean, there's, of course, it's hard and it's painful, and we were donating as much as we could, but also, they themselves, they brought us so many kind of, humorous, content from to somehow to encourage themselves. I think that they can survive this, and the these postcard and these post stamps with this Russian ship, go F yourself, and so on. So I think it's even in hard times, and maybe especially in hard times, we need a bit of smile and a bit of optimism. So we'll see how it goes this September, but it was really nice to hear your thoughts. And maybe at the very end, it's like, what's your, maybe, I don't know, moonshot goal? Like, what would the ultimate success for you look like regarding Bolt and regarding your team or your content that you create?
Well, I could say easily that it would be like winning some kind of a major award, like that would put a star on my kind of career. But I was just thinking of a podcast, I don't remember which, it was one of the very recognized creative directors who said that when all he wanted was to get a Cannes Lion Award, and when he got his first one, he remembered that he maybe had a joy for like 1 minute, because then he started thinking about that he can't be like a one-hit wonder, and he needs to keep performing, keep winning those awards and so on. And I kind of thought like, wow, that is just like, what a sad way that is actually to live. And I still would like to obviously get to the height of my career, like, and kind of an award is a good thing that can maybe give some credibility to that. But I think overall my goal is just to really enjoy what I'm doing. And I know it's such a lame answer, but I think enjoying the process every day and the moment where I feel like I'm really interested to go into the details of that campaign more. That's the goal for me. And at first, when you were asking that and you didn't say to do it both, then I was like, oh, my moonshot would be to have a country house and like another house for a horse next to it. So we could go to the countryside and live with like my dog and my boyfriend and with my horse.
That sounds like a nice dream, I would say.
Literally my childhood dream to become true. Yeah.
I mean, I wish both of those motion goals to happen sooner than later, and I'm sure it's something that you will achieve. Seeing how great the team works and how like also Bolt itself as a unicorn is developing, and of course, I mean, also adding, I think, to the whole country of Estonia, this the land of unicorns. I think when there was a period when we quoted Skype as a
Yes.
everybody wanted to become a Skype. Now I think we more and more we talk about Bolt in this reference, that we want to see our startups or some other scale ups becoming the next Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all the best for you with your personal moonshot goal, for Bolt achieving new heights, and of course winning big in Cannes, or at least receiving global kind of attention to some of your campaigns or projects, and I think that's already quite a nice feeling to have. And I really appreciate that you found time in your very busy schedule to talk to me today. So thank you very much for this.
Yeah, no worries, and thank you for inviting me.
And I hope to see you on September 20th in Riga for the next Baltic Brand Forum. We will gather a lot of amazing stories on how humor and entertainment can help the brands. So see you
I'll
soon.
see you there.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And please follow our podcast to hear many more really exciting conversations and stories we are having in next coming weeks. See you soon.